My wife announced she was going to Cancun with her ex-boyfriend like she was discussing dinner plans. I stayed calm, said, "Have fun," and watched her pack days early for a spontaneous trip. What she didn't know: I'm not the type of man who falls apart when tested. Some men cry when wives cheat. I had other plans entirely. My name is Dwayne Harriman. I'm 52 years old, and I spent the last 30 years building communication systems for the military before transitioning into private consulting. I've always been the guy who thinks 3 steps ahead, plans for contingencies, and keeps his mouth shut when things get complicated. Maybe that's what made me good at my job, and maybe that's what made me blind to what was happening right under my nose. It was a Tuesday evening in March when Tracy dropped the bombshell. I was in my study, reviewing some network security protocols for a client, when she waltzed in wearing that fake bright smile she puts on when she's about to ask for something big. "Honey," Tracy said, twirling a strand of her newly highlighted hair, "you'll never guess what happened today." I looked up from my laptop, already sensing trouble. "Try me." "Chase called," she said, and I swear I could hear her heart racing from across the room. "You remember Chase from college?" "Well, he's doing really well now. Got into real estate development down in Texas." "Chase Delaney." Of course I remember Chase. The guy who thought a leather jacket made him James Dean and treated every conversation like an audition for a beer commercial. The same Chase who used to call our house drunk at 2 in the morning during our first year of marriage, until I had a very direct conversation with him about boundaries. Anyway, Tracy continued, her voice getting that artificial excitement tone. "He invited me to Cancun for a week. Just as friends, you know. His company rented this amazing resort for their top performers, and he thought it would be nice to catch up." I set my laptop aside and really looked at her. The new highlights, the workout routine, the way she'd been glued to her phone lately. It all made sense now. "And you said what exactly?" I asked. Tracy's smile got wider, more defiant. "I said yes, Dwayne. I mean, when's the last time I had a real vacation? Just me. No responsibilities, no schedules." I nodded slowly, watching her face. "So you're going to Cancun with your ex-boyfriend?" "Former boyfriend," she corrected quickly. "And it's not like that. We're both adults. I thought you'd be happy for me." I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at our perfectly manicured lawn. 23 years of marriage, a daughter in grad school, a house we'd built together, and she was standing there telling me she was going on vacation with a guy who used to brag about their physical relationship to anyone who'd listen. "When do you leave?" I asked. "Friday," Tracy said, and there was the hesitation that told me this wasn't as spontaneous as she was pretending. "Have fun," I said, turning back to face her. "Don't forget sunscreen." The look of confusion that crossed her face was priceless. She'd expected a fight, tears, maybe some begging. Instead, she got calm acceptance, and it clearly wasn't the reaction she'd scripted in her head. "You're really okay with this?" Tracy asked. I shrugged. "You're a grown woman, Tracy. If you want to go to Cancun with Chase, that's your choice." She stood there for another moment, waiting for the explosion that wasn't coming, then turned and left. After she closed the door, I sat back down and opened a different folder on my laptop, one labeled contingency plans that I'd hoped I'd never need to use. That night, after Tracy went to bed humming like she'd just won the lottery, I made myself a cup of coffee and opened that contingency folder. Inside were documents I'd hoped I'd never need to access: financial records, property deeds, trust agreements. But there was something else in there, something that made this whole situation even more complicated than Tracy realized. I pulled out a manila envelope marked Personal, 2018, and stared at it for a long moment. Inside were photos and phone record from 5 years ago, when I'd hired a private investigator to follow Carrie Watson, Tracy's sister and my former. Well, let's call it a mistake. See, 3 years before Tracy and I got married, I dated Carrie for about 6 months. It was nothing serious, just 2 people in their 20s figuring things out. When I met Tracy, that ended immediately. Carrie took it well, or so I thought. She even encouraged Tracy to date me, played the supportive sister role perfectly. But in 2018, when Tracy was going through her finding herself phase with those ridiculous art classes, Carrie started showing up at my office. Lunch invitations, coffee meetings, long conversations about how Tracy didn't appreciate what she had. I shut it down fast, but not before she made it clear that she remembered our time together very fondly. The investigation I'd commissioned revealed something interesting. Carrie had been in contact with Chase Delaney for over a year, feeding him information about Tracy, about our marriage, about our routines. Phone calls, text messages, even a few in-person meetings when he was passing through Atlanta on business trips. I'd kept quiet about it because Tracy and Carrie were close, and I didn't want to blow up their relationship over what seemed like harmless meddling. Now, with Tracy packing for Cancun, I was wondering if it had been harmless after all. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah, our daughter. Mom posted something weird on Facebook about living your best life. Everything okay? I typed back. Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just your mom being dramatic. But everything wasn't fine. I could feel the pieces clicking into place. Carrie's interference, Chase's sudden reappearance, Tracy's new confidence. This wasn't spontaneous romance. This was a coordinated campaign. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to my attorney, Jim Peterson. Jim and I went way back. Military buddies who'd stayed in touch through civilian careers. He specialized in asset protection and had helped me structure my holdings through various trusts and LLCs over the years. Tracy thought it was just tax planning. She never bothered to read the fine print. Jim, I typed, need to discuss some urgent trust modifications. Can we meet tomorrow morning? Then I sent another email, this one encrypted, to a contact I hadn't used in years. Sometimes old habits die hard, and sometimes they come in handy when your wife decides to blow up your life. The house was quiet except for the sound of Tracy's suitcase wheels rolling across the hardwood upstairs. She was packing 3 days early for a trip she'd supposedly just been invited to. Amateur hour. I closed the laptop and finished my coffee, already feeling calmer. Tracy thought she was playing chess, but she was actually playing checkers. And she just moved her king into my crosshairs. Friday morning came with the sound of Tracy's alarm at 5 a.m. I lay still, listening to her moving around the bedroom like she was trying not to wake me. Considerate of her, really considering what she was about to do. Dwayne, Tracy whispered, shaking my shoulder gently. I'm leaving for the airport. I opened my eyes and looked at her. She was dressed in travel clothes, yoga pants, oversized sweater, hair pulled back. She looked younger somehow, like she was going back to college rather than blowing up our marriage. Have a safe flight, I said, sitting up. And Tracy, whatever happens down there, just remember that choices have consequences. She paused in the doorway, suitcase in hand. What's that supposed to mean? It means enjoy Cancun, I replied. We'll talk when you get back. After she left, I made coffee and called Jim Peterson, my attorney. Jim, it's Dwayne. I need to accelerate our timeline. How accelerated are we talking? Jim asked. She just left for Mexico with her ex. I want all the trust modifications filed by Monday, and I want the house ownership transferred to the LLC immediately. Consider it done, Jim said. What about the daughter? Savannah's clean. She stays as primary beneficiary on everything. The next call was harder. I dialed my old contact from the NSA days, a guy who now ran private investigations for corporate clients. Tommy, it's Dwayne Harriman. I need a favor. Dwayne, been a while, brother. What can I do for you? I need eyes on a resort in Cancun. 2 Americans, probably registered under different names. I'll send you photos. Surveillance or documentation? Documentation. High resolution. Admissible quality. Consider it handled. By noon, I'd restructured my entire financial life. 23 years of marriage, dissolved into legal documents and trust modifications. The house Tracy thought she owned now belonged to Harriman Holdings, LLC. The joint accounts she thought she could access, frozen pending trust review. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. Dad, Mom posted a picture from the airport. She looks really happy. Are you sure everything's okay? I typed back. Everything's fine, sweetheart. Your mother's just finding herself. But I was already 3 steps ahead, and Tracy had no idea what she just walked into. Tracy's first Instagram post came Saturday evening. A sunset shot from what looked like a beachfront restaurant, cocktail in hand, caption reading, Paradise Found. Sometimes you just need to remember who you are. The second post, Sunday morning, was more revealing. A breakfast photo, but in the reflection of the coffee pot, you could clearly see a man's arm reaching across the table. The metadata, when I ran it through my old analysis software, confirmed location. Hyatt Ziva Cancun, presidential suite level. Presidential suite. On a real estate developer's company trip. Right. Tommy's first report came in Sunday afternoon via encrypted email. Photos of Tracy and Chase having dinner, dancing at the resort's nightclub, walking hand in hand along the beach. Nothing explicitly inappropriate, but the body language told the whole story. But it was the Monday morning video call from Savannah that really sealed the deal. "Dad," Savannah said, her face tight with concern on my laptop screen. "I need to tell you something about Mom's trip." "I'm listening." "She FaceTimed me last night. She was drunk, and she kept talking about how this was her real life, and how she'd been living a lie for years. Then Chase showed up in the background, and Dad, he wasn't wearing a shirt." I nodded calmly. "What else did she say?" "She said she was thinking about staying longer. Maybe permanently." "Dad, I think she's planning to leave you." "Savannah," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I want you to know that whatever your mother decides to do, you and I are going to be fine. Better than fine." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been planning for this possibility for a long time. The house, my assets, everything important, it's all protected, and you're the primary beneficiary on all of it." Savannah's eyes widened. "Dad, what did you do?" "I did what any good father does," I replied. "I made sure my daughter's future is secure, regardless of what choices her mother makes." That evening, I got the call I've been expecting. "Mr. Harriman." The voice was professional, female. "This is Sarah Chun from Judge Morrison's office. He'd like to see you tomorrow morning regarding your recent filings." Judge Morrison. The same judge who'd been very understanding about certain classified information leaks from his son's computer 3 years ago. The same son who was now attending Stanford on a full scholarship, thanks to a recommendation letter I'd written. "Tell the judge I'll be there at 9, I said. Sometimes old favors come in handy. And sometimes, when your wife decides to detonate your marriage, it pays to have friends in high places. Wednesday morning brought a revelation I hadn't seen coming. I was reviewing Tommy's latest surveillance photos when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I hadn't seen in 15 years. "Dwayne Harriman." I answered. "Mr. Harriman, this is Detective Patricia Walsh, Atlanta Police Department. I'm calling regarding some information that's come to our attention about your wife, Tracy Harriman." My stomach dropped. "What kind of information?" "Sir, we've been investigating a case of marriage fraud, and your wife's name came up in our database. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" 20 minutes later, I was staring at documents that turned my world upside down. Tracy had been married before, to a man named David Russell in 2004, 2 years after we got married. The marriage had never been officially dissolved. "Detective Walsh," I said, my voice carefully controlled, "are you telling me my wife committed bigamy?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you, Mr. Harriman. The marriage to Russell was performed in Las Vegas, and according to our records, she used false documentation claiming to be divorced from you." I leaned back in my chair, processing this bombshell. "What happened to Russell?" "He died in a car accident in 2007. Mrs. Harriman collected a substantial life insurance payout, nearly $200,000, money that should have gone to his actual next of kin. And she never told me about any of this." "No, sir. In fact, according to the insurance company's investigation, she listed her marital status as widow when she collected the payout." After Detective Walsh hung up, I sat in my office staring at the wall. My wife of 23 years was not only cheating on me, she was a bigamist and an insurance fraudster. The woman I trusted with my life, my home, my daughter's future, had been living a lie since before Savannah was even born. I called Jim Peterson immediately. "Jim, we need to meet. Now. What's the emergency?" "My marriage to Tracy is invalid. She was already married to someone else when we got married. I have documentation." There was a long pause. "Jesus, Dwayne, do you understand what this means?" "It means Tracy has no legal claim to anything. The house, the assets, the trust funds, none of it. She's been living as a fraudulent spouse for over 20 years. It also means Savannah might have inheritance issues. Savannah's my daughter. DNA tests confirmed that years ago when she needed medical history information. She's legitimate, even if the marriage isn't." That afternoon, I made the hardest phone call in my life. "Savannah, I need you to come home. There's something about your mother you need to know." "Dad, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" "Your mother and I were never legally married. She was already married to someone else when we had our wedding ceremony." The silence stretched for nearly a minute. When Savannah finally spoke, her voice was small and broken. "Dad, Are you telling me my whole life has been a lie? No, sweetheart. You and I are real. Our family was real. Your mother's deception doesn't change that. What does this mean for you? For us. It means your mother has no legal claim to anything I own. It means you're my sole heir. And it means when she comes back from Cancun, she's going to get the surprise of her life. That evening, I received another surveillance photo from Tommy, Tracy, and Chase, kissing on the beach at sunset. But now, instead of feeling betrayed, I felt something else entirely. Relief. Judge Morrison's office felt like a war room Thursday morning. Present were myself, Jim Peterson, Detective Walsh, and the judge himself, a stern man in his 60s who'd seen enough fraud cases to recognize the real thing. Mr. Harriman, Judge Morrison said, reviewing the documents spread across his desk, this is quite possibly the most comprehensive case of marital fraud I've seen in 30 years on the bench. Your Honor, Jim said, we're requesting immediate nullification of the marriage contract and full asset protection for Mr. Harriman and his daughter. Given the bigamy evidence and the insurance fraud conviction in the Russell case, I'm inclined to grant both requests, the judge replied. But there's something else we need to discuss. He pulled out another file. Your wife's sister, Carrie Watson, has been in contact with my office. She's claiming that she has information about irregularities in your financial filings. I felt my blood pressure spike. What kind of irregularities? She's alleging that you've been hiding assets and that the trust modifications were done without proper spousal consent. I looked at Jim, who was already pulling out his phone. Your Honor, Mrs. Watson has her own legal problems. She's been conducting what amounts to a harassment campaign against my client. Judge Morrison nodded. I'm aware of Ms. Watson's history with your client, Mr. Harriman, which is why I'm going to handle this matter personally. He stamped the nullification papers with finality. The marriage between Tracy Harriman and Dwayne Harriman is hereby declared null and void, retroactive to the original ceremony date. All assets remain with Mr. Harriman, and Ms. Tracy Russell, her legal name, has 30 days to vacate the property. That afternoon, Carrie Watson showed up at my front door. I watched her through the security camera for a moment before answering. She looked desperate, angry, and slightly unhinged. Dwayne, Carrie said when I opened the door, we need to talk. About what, Carrie? About Tracy. About what you're doing to her. This isn't fair. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Carrie, your sister committed bigamy, insurance fraud, and adultery. Fair stopped being relevant about 20 years ago. You don't understand, she said, tears starting to form. I told her to do it. I told her to marry David Russell for the money. I thought you were just a fling, and she needed security. I stared at her. You orchestrated the whole thing. I was young and stupid, and I thought I was protecting her. But then she fell in love with you for real, and everything got complicated. And Chase. Was that your idea too? Carrie's face crumpled. I thought if she left you, maybe you and I could try again. I shook my head in disgust. Carrie, you helped your sister commit multiple felonies, destroy my family, and traumatize my daughter, all because you thought it might get you a second chance with me? Dwayne, please. Get off my property, Carrie. And tell Tracy when she calls you that her free ride is over. She can come home and pack her things, but that's it. The party's over. As I watched Carrie drive away, my phone buzzed with a text from Tracy. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Have so much to tell you. I typed back. I'm sure you do. See you soon. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting indeed. Saturday morning brought an unexpected phone call that shattered what I thought I knew about loyalty. Savannah's number appeared on my screen at 7 a.m. Dad, she said, her voice shaky. I need to tell you something. I've been talking to Mom. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. What do you mean, talking to her? She called me yesterday from Mexico. She's scared, Dad. She says you've gone too far, that you're destroying her life over a mistake. I set the mug down carefully. Savannah, your mother committed bigamy and fraud. This isn't about a mistake. I know, but, Dad, she's still my mom. And she says she can explain everything about the marriage thing. She says it was a mistake, that she thought she was divorced when she married that other guy. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. My own daughter, the one person I protected through all of this, was buying Tracy's lies. Savannah, I have legal documents proving she knew exactly what she was doing. But Dad, what if she's right? What if you're being too harsh? She says she loves you, that she made a stupid mistake with Chase, but she wants to come home and fix things. I closed my eyes, feeling something break inside my chest. What exactly did you tell her? The silence stretched too long. I might have mentioned that you transferred everything to the trust. And about the judge. My blood ran cold. Savannah, please tell me you didn't give her specific details. She was crying, Dad. She said she had no money, nowhere to go. I told her about Judge Morrison because I thought maybe she could appeal or something. I hung up and immediately called Jim Peterson. Jim, we have a problem. Tracy knows about Judge Morrison, and she might try to use that information against us. How does she know? My daughter told her. We need to move fast. Within 2 hours, I was sitting in Judge Morrison's chambers with Jim and a very concerned-looking magistrate. Your Honor, Jim said, we believe Mrs. Russell may attempt to claim judicial bias based on your previous relationship with Mr. Harriman. Judge Morrison nodded grimly. I'll recuse myself immediately and transfer the case to Judge Patterson. The nullification stands, but we need clean documentation. That afternoon, Savannah showed up at my door, tears streaming down her face. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't think. Savannah, I said, pulling her into a hug, your mother manipulated you. That's what she does. She called me again after we talked. She said she was proud of me for standing up to you. And now when she gets back, we're going to be a real family again. I held my daughter tighter. Sweetheart, there is no real family with your mother anymore. She made sure of that the day she decided to betray us both. Dad, I think I made everything worse. No, honey, you just learned a hard lesson about who your mother really is. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. This isn't over, Dwayne. You think you're so smart, but I know your secrets too. I forwarded the message to Detective Walsh. Threatening texts were about to become the least of Tracy's problems. Sunday evening, Tracy's flight landed at Hartsfield-Jackson. I wasn't there to meet her. Instead, I was at home with Savannah, who decided she wanted to see her mother's reaction firsthand. Dad, Savannah said, pacing nervously in the living room. Are you sure about this? Maybe we should just leave and let her come home to an empty house. No, I replied. Your mother needs to face what she's done, and you need to see who she really is. At 8:30, we heard Tracy's key in the lock. The sound of her struggling with the door, I'd had the locks changed that morning, brought a grim smile to my face. The doorbell rang, followed by aggressive knocking. Dwayne, Tracy's voice came through the door, sharp and demanding. Open this door right now. I walked to the entrance, Savannah behind me, and opened the door. Tracy stood there with her pink suitcase, face flushed with anger and exhaustion. What the hell is wrong with the locks? She demanded, pushing past me into the house. The locks work fine, I said calmly. You just don't live here anymore. Tracy stopped in the middle of the foyer, her eyes darting between Savannah and me. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Savannah said, her voice steadier than I'd expected, that we know everything, Mom. The bigamy, the fraud, stealing money, all of it. Tracy's face went white. Savannah, honey, your father has filled your head with lies. No, Mom, Savannah interrupted. The lies came from you. For my entire life. Tracy turned to me, desperation replacing anger. Dwayne, we can work through this. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. Tracy, I said, there's something you need to understand. Our marriage was never legal. You were already married when we had our ceremony. That means you have no claim to this house, no claim to my assets, and no legal standing as my wife. That's impossible. Detective Walsh from Atlanta PD confirmed it. David Russell, your first husband. Ring a bell. Tracy's legs seemed to give out slightly, and she grabbed the doorframe for support. The bigamy is just the beginning, I continued. Insurance fraud, tax evasion, theft. The FBI has built quite a case. You bastard, Tracy whispered. You planned all of this. No, Tracy, you planned all of this when you decided to live a lie for 23 years. I just prepared for the day it all came out. Savannah stepped forward. Mom, you need to leave. Dad gave you 72 hours to pack your things, and you've wasted 12 hours of that flying home. Tracy looked at our daughter with genuine shock. Savannah, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You betrayed Dad, you betrayed me, and you betrayed our family. I'm not going to watch you destroy what's left. Tracy's composure finally broke. Fine. Keep your perfect little family. But this isn't over, Dwayne. I'll fight you for everything. With what lawyer? I asked. Patricia Williams dropped you, remember? And good luck finding another one when the FBI charges are filed Monday morning. As Tracy grabbed her suitcase and headed for the door, she turned back one last time. I loved you, Dwayne. Despite everything, I really did love you. No, Tracy, I replied. You love what I could give you. There's a difference. After she left, Savannah and I stood in the quiet house. Dad, she said, I'm proud of you for standing up for us. Sweetheart, sometimes protecting the people you love means making the hard choices. What happens now? I put my arm around my daughter's shoulders. Now we rebuild. Just the two of us, the right way. 3 months later, I sat in federal court watching Tracy's world collapse in real time. The prosecution had built an airtight case. 23 years of fraud, documented with precision that would have made my old NSA colleagues proud. Your Honor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh addressed the judge. The defendant's crimes spanned 2 decades and multiple jurisdictions. Bigamy, insurance fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud. Tracy sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, her once perfect hair now showing gray roots. Her new court-appointed attorney looked overwhelmed. Rebecca Torres had fled the case the moment the federal charges were filed. The prosecution's evidence was devastating. Bank records showing the systematic theft from David Russell's estate. Phone logs proving Tracy knew about her existing marriage when she married me. Security footage from various locations where she'd used false identification. But the moment that sealed her fate came when they played the recorded phone call. Mr. Harriman, Detective Walsh said from the witness stand, can you identify the voice in this recording? The courtroom speakers crackled to life with Tracy's voice from 3 years ago. Talking to Carrie, the Russell money's running low, and Dwayne's getting suspicious about the expenses. Maybe it's time to activate the chase option. Carrie's response was equally damning. I've been working on him for months. He thinks he's going to rescue you from your boring marriage. Tracy's face went ashen as her own words condemned her. This hadn't been a spontaneous affair. It had been a calculated exit strategy years in the making. Your Honor, Tracy's lawyer pleaded during closing arguments. My client is a victim of circumstances, manipulated by her sister and Mr. Delaney. Judge Patterson wasn't buying it. Ms. Russell, you have systematically defrauded multiple people over 2 decades. The court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. Tracy turned to look at me as the bailiff approached with handcuffs. Her mouth formed words I couldn't hear over the gavel's bang, but I didn't need to. 23 years of marriage had taught me to read her lips. I'm sorry. Too little, too late. Outside the courthouse, Savannah waited by my truck. She'd testified for the prosecution, a difficult decision that ultimately helped convict her own mother. Dad, she said as we drove away, do you think she really loved us? I considered the question carefully. I think she loved the life we gave her. I don't think she understood what real love requires. What's that? Sacrifice. Putting other people first. Your mother never learned how to do that. That evening, Chase Delaney was arrested at his Atlanta condo. The same surveillance network that had documented Tracy's crimes had been watching him too. Money laundering, tax evasion, and conspiracy charges. His real estate empire, built on dirty money and false promises, crumbled within hours. Carrie Watson had already pled guilty to conspiracy and received 3 years probation in exchange for her testimony. She'd called once to apologize, but I'd let it go to voicemail. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. 1 year later, I stood in the same kitchen where Tracy had announced her Cancun trip, but everything had changed. The house felt different, lighter somehow, free from the weight of lies and deception. Savannah was making coffee, preparing for her new job at the Defense Intelligence Agency. My daughter had inherited more than just my assets. She'd inherited my instincts and my sense of justice. Dad, she said, handing me a mug. I got a letter from Mom yesterday. I raised an eyebrow. What did it say? She wants to see me. She's been transferred to a minimum security facility in North Carolina, and she thinks we could have a fresh start. What did you tell her? Nothing yet. I want to talk to you first. I looked at my daughter, now 27 and stronger than I'd ever imagined she could be. Savannah, that's your choice to make. She's still your mother. But she's not the mother I thought I had. The woman who raised me was playing a role. I don't know who this person in prison actually is. Maybe that's something you need to figure out for yourself. Later that afternoon, I received an unexpected visitor. Jim Peterson knocked on my door with a manila envelope and a satisfied expression. "Dwayne, you're going to want to see this." Inside the envelope were financial documents showing the recovery of nearly $400,000 for various accounts Tracy had hidden over the years. Insurance money, stolen assets, fraudulent claims, all traced back to their sources and returned to rightful owners. "The Russell family is particularly grateful," Jim said. "They're dropping all civil claims against your estate. What about the house? Fully yours, free and clear. The trust modifications are permanent, and Savannah's inheritance is protected." That evening, Savannah and I sat on the back patio, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. "Dad," she said, "do you ever regret how everything ended?" I thought about the question for a long time. I regret that it had to end at all. I regret that your mother chose deception over honesty, selfishness over family. But I don't regret protecting us. She could have just asked for a divorce. Why did she have to destroy everything? Because destroying everything was the only way she knew how to get what she wanted. Your mother never learned the difference between taking something and earning it. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I glanced at it and deleted it immediately. Another message from Chase Delaney's lawyer, trying to negotiate some kind of deal. Some people never learn. "Dad," Savannah said, "I've decided about Mom's letter. And I'm going to write back and tell her that when she gets out of prison, if she wants a relationship with me, she needs to start by being honest. About everything. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more games." I smiled and put my arm around my daughter's shoulders. That sounds like a reasonable boundary. I learned from the best. As the stars appeared in the darkening sky, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: peace. Tracy had wanted to destroy our family to build a new life with Chase. Instead, she'd freed Savannah and me to build something stronger. The house was quiet, secure, and ours. The future was uncertain, but full of possibilities. And for the first time in decades, I wasn't planning for the worst-case scenario. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.